We saw a few of the young players getting an opportunity. Some of them really did impress. Of course, we spoke a little bit about Trey. I was also quite impressed with Morrison on his effective debut for Liverpool. Will Wright has had a stellar season in the under 21s. So, my question to the group and to Bruce, I'd love your thoughts first, is out of some of the youngsters we saw yesterday and perhaps the rest that we'll see in the rest of preseason, do you think there's an opportunity now for young players to break into that first team squad, whether as squad players or perhaps even take one of the first team shirts?
Well, this is a topic quite close to my heart, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. At the elite stage, if you're looking at the top four or top five, the pathways into the first team are virtually zero. And I say that with absolute love and respect. Trey has been around the first team now. I think like the first time I've like heard this guy was maybe a few months before the Plymouth game where we got knocked out. How many seasons ago was that? Was that 2 seasons ago?
Two
we got knocked out in the FA Cup. I've not really seen anything from him for anyone to suggest he's ready. Same with Bobby Clark and those like guys that played in the Chelsea League Cup final. Everyone thought that was the coming of age of the next group of Liverpool players.
Yeah.
Where are those players now? You know, respectfully, where are those players now? The route into the first team for any player playing for the top four, virtually zero. And it's because of what we was talking about before, the money in the game. It's a business. You don't have time to like nurture someone who's 18, 19 with potential. There's Rio that has potential, but again, you know, I'm not going to call him a generational talent, but he's just something completely different that what Liverpool need. And we bought him as well, you know, but again, we bought him from like Chelsea. So he didn't come through our system. We bought him young. So still, there wasn't really a pathway for anyone, even close to Rio's quality to actually say, wow, they've spent X amount on Rio, but I do something similar. What's that saying to our academy players? What's that saying to academy players across, that country? It's nice to see players get a run out. Iriola is amazing with unearthing players. We've seen it at Bournemouth, but he's not going to have that luxury at Liverpool. He isn't. We were very annoyed in terms of how Slot played, and actually how he used the players that the board gave him. Iriola has a team apart from Ekitike that should be challenging for the Premier League, and we have to be honest, we are maybe a few players short, and every player that we've spoken about is players that play for different clubs that we're looking at 50 million, 100 million, whatever it is. These players that played against Sunderland will not be playing for Liverpool. Trey may like have a chance, but he isn't going to displace anyone in the middle of the park, which is sad to see, but it's a business, and I'm okay with that. I just hope that these like players find clubs, even if it's lower down or abroad, to actually plow their trade, to hopefully be like brought back into the Premier League, and hopefully to be England internationals, Irish internationals, Scottish, etc. That's how I feel about it.
And we've seen it year after year after year with potential players coming through, and you see them in the League Cup games or the FA Cup games where they have a great game, and then you don't see them then for another 6 months or 6 weeks or whatever, and then maybe they don't have such a good game in the next round of the cup. I don't think there's that many that could potentially break through even to be on the bench on a regular basis. Trainioni's, does seem to be one of those that is continually around the first team, same as obviously Rio. Anybody outside of that, I mean, even going by last night, yes, Morris did well last night. Wright didn't really have a foot in the game, so and that was against their, what I would say was their weaker, Sunderland's weaker attack and defence. And Dukwe looks good. Maybe he might have a chance of, if he continues, playing well. Looks a solid defender, but again, I have to echo what Big T says. 0, 1%. It's very difficult for any player to come through the ranks and oust out the likes of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, even Alison Becker or Isak. Who's going to come through and take their places? There isn't anybody. Yeah. And like we said before, it's a business. So you want from a business. So they're not going to give you instant results, unfortunately.
No.
Let's hope that 1 or 2 do come through. So we'd love to see that, and hopefully Areola not only can get the likes of Trainioni and Rio and Gamora playing better, but get them to break into the first team on a regular basis.
Paul, yourself, hopefully a little bit of optimism for the youngsters.
Well, I will actually, because I think you're right, Az. I think you were right what you said. Last night I thought they performed extremely well. And it was refreshing for me because I cast my mind back to when Slot fielded a bunch of youngsters in the Carabao Cup against QPR. Didn't really give them any senior players to back them up. And for me, it almost felt like he threw them under the bus. We always knew we were going to lose that game. And that couldn't have done their confidence any good. At the time, he's come out and said, I wanted them to experience playing in front of 60,000 people. Well, there's no experience gained when you lose in the manner you lost. And I think he orchestrated that loss personally. So it was really nice to see the lads getting a chance under Iriola to prove what they've got. Now, sadly, that's where I think the majority of it ends for most of them. I agree with Big T. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of these go out on loan this season. I think 1 or 2, like Trey, will stick around because I think he can do a job when called upon. But I also think if the right amount of money comes in for him, you probably sell him to make a bit of money.